Hi everybody, Mr. Dorothy here. We are here for another Art Live for kids and adults too. I'm going to give everybody a second to pop on, and then we're going to get started for today. Today we are going to be learning about the art of Keith Haring. And we're going to be creating our own piece of art based on his, calling them funky figures. We will get started in just a second. Supplies that you need for today, pretty simple: pencil, eraser, piece of plain white paper, or you can use some colored paper, and then any colored art material, whether it be colored pencils, markers, paint if you have it. You don't really need it today, but any of those supplies will work, and then we'll get started. I put up some in the post yesterday. There are some resources that have some like how-to kind of things that you can use as resources if you so need. Hello, Jennersons. So let's get started. Let's first. So Keith Haring. I've been doing a lot of pop artists for these videos. I love pop art. And Keith Haring is another example of a pop artist. Other pop artists that we've learned about, we've done Warhol, we've done Liechtenstein, we've done all sorts of pop artists, and we are going today be using shape. So when a line moves and hits itself. Hello, Kellen. We're going to use shape. We're going to use lots of color today. So again, our color wheel helps us mix colors and create colors. Primary colors: red, yellow, blue. Secondary colors: green, orange, violet. And another one that Keith Haring uses is line. And this is going to be in Hi Braxton. This is going to be an important one today. Line, a mark that moves, has direction and thickness. The key word today is going to be thickness, because a big important part of Keith Haring's work is his thick, bold, black lines. Keith Haring was an artist working in the 80s, big pop artist, and his figures are, and you can see them in some of the examples, were kind of very simple, almost like stick figures. But the cool thing about those figures is and sort of his message through his art was this social change, and a lot of his artwork had a very important message. So we're going to focus on some of that messaging today. So our end goal is we're going to be creating some sort of figure saying a message. Or it could be, I did an example one here, or he sometimes did dogs, so you have an option to do that as well. So you have your blank piece of paper. I'm going to, one of his more famous pictures is, and I'll show you on my computer screen, because it was Earth Day recently. We had this. There we go. So he did these figures kind of dancing to the earth. Yep, we're going to get to those in just a second. So, we are going to do sort of stick figures, but I'm going to show you how to build them up. So, I'm going to do my earth first. So I draw a big circle. And you want to very lightly, again, as we are drawing, you're going to hold your pencil very lightly, and you're going to do the head of your figure. And then you're going to start just making lines, kind of like an armature or a stick figure. You're going to start just with the line. We're eventually going to make them thicker, but we're just going to start with a line like a stick figure. We're not going to leave them like that. We're going to add some thickness. So you're going to end up with something like this. And if you want to have your figures doing different things, they could be dancing, they could be jumping, the same concept. You just want your figure to have, stick figure-esque parts. And then, when you go from there, you're going to make those stick figures thick. So you're going to take that line that you drew and add some thickness. So you're going to do that, and the bodies might be much thicker. So you're going to take it from this to this. Hi John, miss ya. You're going to take it from this to this. So you can see how I took my lines, made them thicker, and I made the single line into a shape. I added thickness to that. And with my head, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I made my lines darker so that you can see the difference. So there I have my figure that is done. So I'm going to do the same thing to this figure. And this one I'm going to show you, I'm going to do the lines outside of it. So you can see how I'm just making the lines thicker around that armature, or that stick figure. Okay? Now, the fun part too about Keith Haring's artwork is one of his signatures is these movement lines that kind of go around his figures. So you can put these in now, or you can put them in later. But just some lines that kind of show movement. And that's a fun part about line, is it can show movement. Think of a cartoon character that's running, you have the lines behind it. So I have my figures done, and now I'm going to do my earth. And you don't have to worry too much about what the shapes look like, because we're going to do it earth colors, so you'll get the idea. So just a circle with some shapes inside. And then now we will be ready for our next step. So once you have your figures drawn, your stick figures drawn, it could be dancing, it could be, you know, a dog, which I'll do that one quick so you can see it. A dog is just a rectangle with a bunch of rectangles on the outside and some triangles for ears. And then you have a Keith Haring dog. Or it could be, you know, a figure just holding up a heart. As long as you start with that base stick figure and then build it up, you're fine. So I'm going to take my drawing I have here, and I'm going to start to add outlines with a thick black marker. I'm just using a Sharpie chart marker. So I have nice thick black lines. Whatever you have, just make sure you want a thick black line, because Keith Haring's artwork has those thick black lines that really make it nice and bold. So Keith Haring's artwork, you know, is now one of the most recognizable kind of images and styles in the world. His artwork is used in all sorts of advertisements and clothing and fashion. So he was a very influential American artist. And for any of my students that are watching, we learned during, when we were in school, about social activism. He was a big social activist who was using his art to tell a message, to help enact change through his art and letting people know about things in the world that he wanted to let them know about. And Braxton, who's watching, and Josiah, we learned about an artist who he was actually friends with, which was Jean-Michel Basquiat, very famous artist too. He was in that same circle of artists. So I have my Keith Haring figures now. So I'm going to just go through and erase any of my pencil lines. I want to get rid of all the pencil lines. Now, this coloring for this is going to be a much simpler coloring. We're going to choose solid colors for our figures. Alright, so I have my figures, I have my lines. I added some lines around the globe just to make it pop out a little bit more. But those extra lines are just going to make it look that much more Haring-esque. And they're fun. They make it look like the figures are moving, kind of like a cartoon character is dancing or running. Or so we're going to get started. So his colors are realistic in the sense of like objects that are, you know, like a heart would be red. The earth, we're going to use our blue and green for the earth. So same concepts when we want to color. I'm going to do my outline of my shape first. Create that bumper. And fill it in. When it comes to the figures, the stick figures, or modified stick figures, the background and the figure color can be your choice. If you want to have both figures be the same color, they can both be the same color. If you want them to have different colors, that's okay too. So I have my land on my earth done. Now I'm going to do my water. So again, I'm doing my outside lines. I'm creating that bumper. Taking my time around the outside edges so that I can stay inside the lines. The nice thing about this is that our thick black lines are thick enough so that if we make any tiny little mistakes, they'll get covered up. But you still want to take your time so that you don't have to worry about going and fixing any of the black lines. So now I have my outline started, and then I can go back in and color on the inside of those areas. So there I have my earth. And I like how Keith Haring kind of adds some other texture. He adds some dots to his earth. So I'm going to add some dots just to add some different textures. So there's my earth. Now it's time to color in my figures. So I need to think about what color I'm going to be adding for my figures. And I want to think about my background color too. I think maybe I'll do my figures. I want to use blue and green, so obviously I use blue and green for here. I'm going to use red for my background. And then I'm doing my outlines and creating my bumpers so that I have a protective line around the outside of my shape. And Keith Haring used all sorts of bright and bold colors. Some of his artwork is much more simple, with simple colors. Red, yellow, blue are primary colors. But then there's also, he's using purples and pinks and I'll do my figures pink. How about that? We'll do our figures pink. So again, just my outlines. And it does not matter if I color over my movement lines that I drew. So like these kinds of lines, if I just color over those, that's okay. Color. I'm going to give this marker a chance to breathe a little bit. While that breathes a little bit, I'm going to take my pink and I'm going to color the inside of my figure. And again, if it's thick enough, like if I use my one side of my bumper for that part of the figure, and then on the other side, it fills in the whole space anyway, so I don't have to worry. But I use my bumper in the head. I'm coloring in the same direction, making sure there's no white space. So when I go to color in, there I have a nice solid colored figure. I don't have streaks, there's no white paper showing, so I'll do the same thing on my other side. And again, you don't have to be using the same colors as I am, or even have the same imagery. I chose my earth because we missed doing an Earth Day artwork, so I wanted to do that. So again, making sure I don't have any streaks and going the same direction. Making sure I don't have any white paper. And then, boom. And then I'm just going to continue to color in my background. Marker had a chance to breathe a little bit, so it's freshened up. That's a little trick. If you ever feel like your marker's dying, just give it a second to breathe. Sometimes it just can get a little tired, and it just needs some time to breathe. Again, just making that outline. The rest is all just making your lines. Now, this lesson, this little drawing project, probably won't take you as long as some of the other ones have. So I encourage you to make multiples. These might be fun things to put in your window so people walking by your house can see. Keith Haring's artwork was on billboards and for everyone to see, so do the same. And there go. There you have your Keith Haring art with a message. Same concepts can go, you could do, I'll just quickly do some of these. You can have any color, figure. You could have a purple figure with a yellow background. You can have your dog that you have. The dog, very simply, as you do more, it's just single rectangle, couple rectangles for mouth, few rectangles for the legs, tail, and 2 triangles for the ears. So I encourage you to make multiples. And feel free to look at other Keith Haring artwork. There's all sorts of, he's a very well-known artist, so there should be all sorts of resources on the web. But I hope you enjoyed making our Keith Haring artwork. And in the comments below, please make sure that you share all of the artwork and what you created so that I can show them off. So hope you enjoyed this artwork, and I will see you guys again on today's Wednesday. No, today's Monday. I'll see you on Wednesday. All right, everybody. Again, make sure you, in the comments below, put your artwork so we can see. And if you don't follow or subscribe to @JasonDorothy on YouTube, there's now, I think, 12 other videos of other artists or drawing activities that you can feel free to look up and get caught up on or whatnot. And you can follow @Mr. Dorothy's Art Room, ES3 on Instagram, and @JasonDorothy. I post all of the assignments, and I've started to put the artist name too, so that if you don't look at the full post, you can still see it in the picture. So that you can do some pre-learning before we come on here and start actually making their art. So, again, in the comments, post your artwork, and I will see everybody on Wednesday for our next artist. All right, everybody, thanks, and have a wonderful Monday.